So behind me right now are two brass era race cars. We never thought that we could get a car, find a car that raced in Savannah and bring it back to Savannah. And the blue car behind me, the 1911 EMF, was sent to Savannah in 1911, one of three of them, to race in the Tiedemann Cup, the light car race that preceded the Vanderbilt Cup that year. And it came in third, driven by Jack Tower. Its two sister cars came in second and first. I bought that car in 2015 and was so excited. That was what turned me on to the brass era race car scene. And then just recently, about two and a half years ago, we found this other car, the rusty one behind me, the 1908 Chalmers, and we're able to buy it and bring it to Savannah. And now we display them, we take them to concours, we race them in vintage events. Not really racing, but we pretend to race in vintage events, dress up like I'm dressed up now, and take them and drive them on racetracks with other friends who have brass era race cars. Everybody that we've ever taken in one of these cars, and particularly if we let them drive, gets out of it and says, I got to get one of these things. They're a blast to drive. It gets you just back to the basics of driving. Since the brakes were primitive, it's just a leather strap around the rear wheel. When they would go into a turn, the driver, or maybe even the riding mechanic, would hit the kill switch, a magneto kill switch, kill the engine, and that would provide engine braking to slow you down before you went in the corner. So also you don't want to hit that one by accident. This middle pedal for the Chalmers serves as it's the clutch. When it's depressed halfway down, when it's depressed all the way, it's actually a clamp, a brake on the drive shaft. If you get discombobulated, that one can be a little bit of a challenge. And then your gas pedal is more traditional over on the right side of the steering wheel. So they're just a blast. You're out in the open. If you're going, both of these cars will go probably 70 miles an hour. And if you're driving 70 miles an hour on one of these things, you feel like you're going 120. So a lot of people ask, are these just stripped down passenger cars? Well, they were both purpose-built race cars. Now, what was a purpose-built race car in 1908 and 1911? You know, the engine was the same EMF 30 engine. They had made some modifications to it. Obviously, it had straight pipes, and the chassis was built up with, you know, obviously just two seats on it and very little else. The Chalmers was also a purpose-built race car, but again, what was a purpose-built race car in 1908 and 1911? They took the lightest parts they had for the passenger cars and assembled a race car out of it. But both of them were race cars from, you know, obviously they both have provenance racing in Savannah, but they were purpose-built to race. All right, so starting them both of these cars is normally a two-person procedure. You have little fuel cups on top of the cylinders, and you'll prime the cylinders with using those fuel cups, put a little fuel in them, and then open the valve and drop the fuel into the cylinder. You retard the timing, and they both have hand throttles on them too, so you advance the throttle and retard the timing. And then obviously they're hand cranked. So generally they work best if you keep the magneto off and prime it a couple of times with your crank, then flip your magneto on and give it the sort of the starter pull. Usually they'll start on that. You talk about the primitive nature, we talk about the primitive nature of these cars. One of the things that's so interesting about owning and collecting and studying these brass era race cars is you look at cars that were built in 1905 and 6, and then you look at cars in 1915, 16, and 18, and it's amazing the amount of technology that happened and advancement that happened over those 10 years. I mean, it's sort of like what was happening then is what's happening in the computer age now. I mean, from 1900 to 1920, the amount of advancement in technology, automobile technology, was unbelievable. So why do we collect these cars? I've told you we collect them because they raced in Savannah and they're part of Savannah's history. But they're also just a lot of fun, and they remind you of how far we've come in 100 years, or 110 years. Getting in one of these things is elemental and just a ton of fun, but owning them and collecting them, and most importantly driving them, are just a reconnection to what motoring's all about.
If you like this video and want to see more, make sure to hit that subscribe button and like this video. And to see more stories like this, visit us online at classicmotorsports.com.